I mean, so it's obvious that, I mean, one of the key players, of course, is the banking system, but of course there are other important agencies that you need to interact with. It'll be good to get a sense as to what these other agencies are. We know that NSIA has some form of an investment in your firm. The banking institutions play a very, very critical role. What other government agencies do you need to interact with to make sure that it actually works?
I think the most important, actually, state governments. You know, when you look at the regulation for land, which really comes under the Land Use Act, it effectively puts the management of land under states, right? So the real key stakeholders there, apart from the financing area, really, is really working with the states. And you know, even though we know that the bulk of mortgages, etc., would normally be in the most urbanized areas, the idea was that, you know, you had to carry the states along, irrespective of political differences. The idea being that we looked at it from a perspective that, you know, no matter what you do, the point is you still want the residents of your states to have access to homes. That's one. Secondly was, again, in terms of states, we were kind of, you know, one of the major issues we had for housing has been the issue of foreclosure, right? That's foreclosure and also title. So what did we do on the mortgage side, on the foreclosure side? We've created a law which is ready, and what we've done is to make that a state law, such that basically it's passed by different states. Now, for uniformity purposes, what we've also done is to create a policy for that law, such that the policy allows for uniformity in terms of the implementation of the law. Now, in terms of the clever nuances we've done, is basically to say that, now, when we went into detail with respect to what the problems are with foreclosure, generally speaking, what happens is, it's really the issue of injunctions, you know, legal injunctions. Now, so the first thing we did was to say, okay, let's start from the issue of the contract. So what we have today is that the mortgage deed, which is effectively the contract between the mortgagee and mortgagor, we've now inserted in there that it will be, if there's any dispute between any of those two parties, it's to be resolved via arbitration. And then what we've done is that in executing that contract, effectively becomes contractual arbitration. And whatever arbitral award comes out of that is final. So that's the first step. So what we're trying to do here is really not avoid judicial, but to try and make it easy to foreclose. That's one. But of course, there are people that would want to fight the arbitral award and, you know, basically go through the court system. So what we've done is to say that, in the law that is that in the event that you decide to go to court, which no one can stop your constitutional right to go to court, you as the borrower would have to deposit 25% of the original principal balance of the loan. Why original principal balance? Because that is what is undisputable. If you say outstanding balance, it can be disputed, right? But the original principal, so long as a contract exists between A and B, which says you borrowed X, right? That's what's needed for you to actually get the injunction.
The question I actually have is directed at Sonnie. I recognize from the update you gave earlier on that there's a lot of what I call heavy lift that you guys are trying to do to try and build the proper structures. I think I'd like to get your thoughts on, if I fast forward to whatever the horizon is, when do you think the girl or guy on the street would actually start to see some meaningful improvements? Because I think ultimately what you're trying to get to is a market where there's access to, low-cost financing when it comes to mortgage. At the risk of asking you to maybe predict for the future, when can we expect to see some changes?
I have received a call, or I've received a text message, or I've received an email from a mortgage bank or whatever, telling me to come apply for a mortgage. Some of them are asking, you know how Nigerians are skeptical, you know, or that, is it true? You know, and yes, it's true, it's okay, go ahead. Now, what that tells you today is that we've already made it clear to our lenders that the criteria as is will not change. I mean, if there's anything, it'll be very little, if anything at all. And right now it's been circulated by to the board, and it's to be expected approval this week. So in other words, they already have begun underwriting. Now, by CBN regulations, those mortgages that are underwritten have to season on the mortgage bank's account or the mortgage lender's account for 6 months before it's eligible for refinancing. So it's already started. I mean, I won't say already, but effectively, let me say officially, right? If we publish on Friday, right? Effectively from Monday, you can just assume that that story has begun.
We've that company right now, as you know, has been set up. Board of directors put in place. Even my successor, CEO, are now identified. We've spent a lot of time, putting the underwriting standards together, which that should significantly help in terms of the kind of credit risk that mortgage banks will be holding on their company, on some mortgage lenders, let me use that term, will be holding on their books going forward. We've created, a repayment structure that is completely seamless, so that deduction at source from the staff, as I explained earlier, a tripartite agreement, so that basically as salaries are being paid, mortgages deducted and paid directly to the mortgage lender, NMRC having a CBN account to deduct or to debit the bank so that it can have its monies available to pay the investor. We've finalized at least to a great extent the guarantee structure to allow for the institution to be able to season, but then not to become a dependent institution on government. We're beginning discussions with the buyers, investors, investor base. We've created the mortgage and foreclosure law to support the sector. So yeah, a lot has been done. We've launched the 10,000 mortgage pre-qualification scheme, which threw out 60,000 applicants, and right now we're 66,000 actually, and we now have 6,000 applicants, which is the initial 6,000 being distributed across the mortgage lenders who are shareholders of NMRC. So a lot has been done, and we expect that the underwriting standards will be published this week, barring no issues. And with that, basically, the banks can begin to, or the mortgage lenders can now begin to, underwrite mortgages according to that criteria, and look forward to, the first refinancing of those mortgages, first or maybe second quarter next year. And then from then onwards, it becomes a continuum,